Hi, everyone. I just said to Larissa, there's no way I can top that. I have an incredibly difficult act to follow. And I just want to say thank you to Shelley for that introduction. I was very much shaped by my time in the National Union of Students, from shutting down Victoria Street to going to Calais to do a refugee solidarity action, visiting Auschwitz with United Against Fascism. And I am that person today because of all of those experiences. And it's an absolute privilege to be here with you all today, marking not just 20 years of the war on terror, but 20 years of Stop the War. And 2 decades on, let us not be in any doubt, the wars unleashed by Bush and Blair haven't vindicated the pundits and the politicians who clamored for conflict. It vindicated Stop the War and peace activists who proved to be right time and time again. So thank you for leading the campaign against Western imperialism and aggression, and for inviting me to speak today. As Shelley mentioned, I was just 7 years old around September the 11th, 2001, and that atrocity had an impact that cast a long shadow over my childhood and also as an adult. The war on terror set a narrative that portrayed Muslims, wherever we were, as a security threat in need of discipline and subordination. We weren't seen as equals, we weren't seen as people who deserved dignity or respect, but as suspects, as a threat, and through the prism of counterterrorism and security. Growing up, I saw the effects of this, not just at home, but also abroad. Because at home, what it meant was rising Islamophobia and the erosion of civil liberties of everyone in society. It meant the installation of cameras, security cameras, on streets near my childhood home. And while the authorities said they were for traffic calming measures, we soon learned that that wasn't true. This was a Muslim majority area, and these security cameras were to spy on the community. Then at school and university, I encountered Prevent, as mentioned by Larissa and Loki and many others. We were told that Prevent was going to target radicalization, but when we see young girls refer to it for choosing to wear a hijab, we know that it's really about demonizing and silencing Muslims. And abroad, this Islamophobic narrative set the background to disastrous wars, with Muslim-majority countries portrayed as threats, as unprogressive, and these wars and this carnage, we've seen it in Afghanistan, we've seen it in Iraq, Libya, and many more places. It has claimed the lives of millions of people, it has forced millions more to flee their homes, and it has destabilized whole regions. It didn't bring democracy or security to the Middle East, nor did it make us any safer at home. And as Jeremy bravely argued in the 2017 election, as well as academic experts, the security services themselves, even Boris Johnson, when he was London mayor, there is a close connection between the wars on terror abroad and the threat of terrorism at home. "20 years later, you think people had time to digest all of this, and you think some of these lessons might have been learnt by the powerful and the ruling class. You think that the same old tired arguments that have been refuted beyond all doubt in these years would be abandoned. You'd think that, right? But in Parliament, as we've all seen, when Parliament was recalled in the summer for the debate on Afghanistan, that's not quite what's happened, because one after another, MPs from across the House got up and they demanded more military intervention, as if the answer to catastrophic war is more catastrophic war. Just as in 2001, our political class still believes that liberal democracy can be built at the barrel of British and American guns. That fantasy was wildly implausible back then, as Stop the War, Jeremy, and a handful of other MPs recognized. But to hold this belief now, in 2021, after all the bloodshed that has been unleashed, it is absolutely ludicrous as it is dangerous. So I spoke in that debate to tell a hard, clear truth, a truth that we all subscribe to, that British bombs cannot build democracy, and our politicians must never again send soldiers to kill and die in futile crusades. But while our political class don't get it, the public definitely does, because poll after poll Poll after poll of the British public shows that most people oppose these wars, that they show that most people opposed continuous military occupation, and even Joe Biden and the Democrats don't want forever wars. I can't believe we are saying that Americans, the American president, has a better line on this than most politicians in Westminster, but that's where we are. While we must argue now that Afghanistan, the very first war on terror, should be the very last war on terror, this week we know that those arguments have to keep being made because we saw a new front to Western militarism. We saw the Australia-UK-US pact now putting China firmly in focus again, setting up a new dangerous Cold War. This saber rattling won't bring any peace as much as they tell us and keep telling us. It won't secure justice or human rights. And just as it did before, a new Cold War risks hot wars across the world, most likely in the global south, and the danger of nuclear Armageddon engulfing us all. So I'm sad to say it, but stop the war and the movement for peace is just as important, if not more important, than it was 20 years ago. So I join you. So I join you today and every day in continuing the fight for a new foreign policy that is based not on military might and bloodshed, but restraint, diplomacy, and securing peace and justice for everyone, wherever they are in the world. Thank you very much.